Treat doubt as a friendly reminder. I am often asked questions whether people are doing affirmations correctly or whether they are even working. I'd like you to think about doubt a little differently than you may have been. I believe that the subconscious mind resides in the solar plexus area of the body, where you carry those gut feelings. When something sudden happens, don't you immediately get a strong feeling in your gut? It is where you take everything in and store it. Ever since we were little children, every message we have received, everything we have done, all the experiences we've had, all that we have said, have gone through, feeling, they've all been stored in a filing cabinet in the solar plexus area. I like to think that there are still messengers in there. And when we think about thoughts or have experiences, the messages go in and the messengers file them in the appropriate files. For many of us, we have been building up these labeled, I'm not good enough. I'll never make it. I don't do it right. We have gotten absolutely buried under these files. Suddenly, we do affirmations such as, I am wonderful and I love myself. The messengers pick up them and say, what's this? Where do these go? We've never seen this one before. So the messengers call doubt. Doubt, come over here and see what's going on. So doubt picks up the message and asks the conscious mind, what's this? You have always been saying these things. On a conscious level, we can react in two ways. We can say, oh, you're right. I'm terrible. I'm no good. I'm sorry. That's not the right message. And go back to your old ways. Or we can say to doubt, that was the old message. I have no need for it now. This is the new message. Tell doubt to start a new file because there will be lots of these loving messages coming through from now on. Learn to treat doubt as a friend, not the enemy, and thank it for questioning you. It doesn't matter what you do in this world. It doesn't matter if you are a bank president or a dishwasher, a housewife or a sailor. You have wisdom inside of you, and that is connected to the universal truth. When you are willing to look within and ask a simple question such as, what is this experience trying to teach me? And if you are willing to listen, then you will have the answer. Most of us are busy running around creating the soap opera and drama we call our lives that we don't hear anything. Don't give your power over to other people's pictures of what is right and wrong. They only have power over us when we give our power to them. Groups of people give their power over to others. It happens in a lot of cultures. Women in our culture give their power to men. They say things like, my husband won't allow me to. Well, that's certainly giving over your power. If you believe it, you box yourself into a place where you cannot do anything unless you are given permission by another person. The more open-minded you are, the more you learn, and the more you can grow and change. A woman once shared with me that when she got married, she was very unassertive because that was the way she was brought up. It took years for her to realize that her conditioning kept her locked in a corner. She blamed everyone, her husband and her in-laws, for problems. Eventually, she divorced her husband. However, she still blamed him for so many things that were not right in her life. It took her 10 years to relearn her patterns and to take her power back. In hindsight, she realized that she was responsible for not speaking up and for not standing up for herself, not her husband or her in-laws. They were there to reflect back to her what she felt inside, a sense of powerlessness. Don't give your power away based on what you read. I remember years ago, I read some articles in a well-known magazine, and I happened to know something about each subject described in the articles. in my opinion, the information was totally erroneous. The magazine lost all credibility for me, and I didn't read it again for many years. You are the authority in your life, so don't think that because something is in print that it's always the truth. Inspirational speaker Terry Gold-Whitaker wrote a wonderful book called What You Think of Me Is None of My Business. It's true. What you think of me is none of my business. It's your business. In the end, what you think of me is going out from you in vibrations and will come back. When you have elimination, when we become conscious of what we are doing, we can all begin to change our lives. Life is really here for you. You need only ask. Tell life what you want, and then allow the good to happen. Part 2. Dissolving the barriers. We want to know what is going on inside us, so we can know what to let go. Instead of hiding our pain, we can release it totally. Chapter 5. Oh no. Understanding the blocks that blind you. Chronic patterns of self-hate, guilt, and self-criticism raise the body's stress levels and weaken the immune system. Now that we understand a little more about the power that we have within us, let's take a look at what keeps us from using it. I think that almost all of us have barriers of some kind or another. Even when we do a lot of work on ourselves and clear out the blocks, new layers of old barriers still keep coming up. Many of us feel so flawed that we believe that we are not good enough and never will be. And if we find something wrong with us, then we are going to find something wrong with other people as well. If we are still continuing to say, I cannot do this because my mother said, or my father said, then we have not yet grown up. So now you want to let your barriers go and perhaps learn something different that you didn't know before. Perhaps one sentence here will trigger a new thought. Can you imagine how wonderful it would be if every day you learned a new idea that would help you let go of the past and create harmony in your life? When you become aware and understand the individual process of life, you will know what direction to take. If you put your energies into learning about yourself, you will eventually see those problems and issues that you need to dissolve. We all have challenges in our life. Everybody does. Nobody goes through life without them. Otherwise, what would be the purpose of coming to this particular school called Earth? For some, there are healthy challenges, and for other people, there are relationship challenges or career or financial challenges. Some have a little bit or a lot of everything. I think one of our biggest problems is that most of us haven't the faintest idea of what it is we want to let go. We know that what is not working, and we know what we want in our life, yet we don't know what's holding us back. So let's take this time to look at the blocks that bind us. If you think for a moment about your own patterns and problems and the things that hold you back, which categories do they fall into? Criticism, fear, guilt, or resentment? I call these categories the Big Four. Which is your favorite one? Mine was a combination of criticism and resentment. Maybe you are like me and have 2 or 3. Is it fear that always comes up or guilt? Are you very critical or resentful? Let me point out that resentment is anger that is stuffed down. So if you believe you are not allowed to express your anger, then you have stored a lot of resentment. We cannot deny our feelings. We cannot conveniently ignore them. When I had cancer diagnosis, I had to look very clearly at myself. I had to acknowledge some nonsense that I didn't want to admit about myself. For instance, I was a very resentful person, and I carried a lot of bitterness from the past. I said, Louise, You have no time to indulge in that anymore. You really must change. Or as Peter McWilliams says, you can no longer afford the luxury of a negative thought. Your experiences always reflect your inner beliefs. You can literally look at your experiences and determine your beliefs are. Maybe it's disturbing to consider, but if you look at the people in your life, they are all mirroring some belief you have about yourself. If you are always being criticized at work, it is probably because you are critical and have become the parent who once criticized the child. Everything in our lives is a mirror of what we are. When something is happening out there, it is not comfortable. We have the opportunity to look inside and say, how am I contributing to this experience? What is it within me that believes I deserve this? I personally feel like I've been going through a lot of this internal work lately, and I feel like I've visited this part before, where I internally go in and I understand why I've done certain things in my past, why I view my life the way that I view it. But now, with the age that I am and my brain developing more and being in a consistent practice for some time, it's sticking longer. And I'm grateful for that. For me personally, I struggle with not being good enough. I struggle with not expressing my worth. I struggle with making other people happy before myself because I have fear of being abandoned. And one of the things that I'm noticing is that a lot of my relationships I build are to fulfill somebody else's desires and goals and dreams, and then letting them, I guess, use what I was so easily willing to give, and it starts to, for me, feel like I'm not being treated with the respect that I deserve because I so easily gave it up in the first place. And then I feel like I can't speak up for myself because I feel like I deserve this treatment. And then I have other days where I look back and I say, no, I don't. I mean, I feel like I've worked so hard for this person, and in return, they just come in whenever they want and don't follow up with what they say they're going to do. And I hold that accountability that I should be expressing to somebody else inside, and I create resentment. My pattern is not laying down boundaries for myself. And that comes from a very long line of learned behavior. But it also comes from a long line of not breaking a pattern and a cycle. So it's hard. I feel I can teeter-totter from the victim into a conscious mind state. So, with that being said, for you, are you seeing a pattern now? And what does your pattern look like? How do you feel you can overcome your pattern? And a huge one, are you willing to forgive yourself for the pattern you have created? I know I am. I forgive myself for the pattern and the cycles that I have continued to put myself in. Not because I don't love myself. Well, kind of. That was it for a very long time. I was looking for validation and love outside of myself due to my past feeling and perspective of not being loved, not being worthy. That is my own doing. And I forgive myself because I fucking love myself so much. I do. And I love saying that. And I hope that you love yourself too. Because you are worthy and you are powerful and amazing. And today should be the day, I hope and I invite you to go look at yourself in the mirror, in the eyes. Don't look at your face. Make real eye contact with your soul. And say that you forgive yourself. And that you love yourself. And that you're a fucking badass bitch. Or whatever. You can use whatever word you want. But today is that day. I am so happy you chose to be here today with me. I am grateful for your time. And I'm grateful for your existence. We change ourselves, which in turn changes the world. Until next time.